fellas, welcome back to the dining room table. So today we're going to attempt to repair this Makita 18 volt lithium ion pack. If you remember from my last video, I was talking about them. This is the BL1815 18 volt lithium ion battery. Through previous tests, we determined that 2 of the cells were reading 0. I did an attempt to restore them, and it did not function. It did not bode well. I was not able to convince any of these cells to take some voltage. But we're going to try to repair this pack by changing these 2 cells out. Now, I said previously in another video I only had 1 left, and that's not true. I had forgotten I have this battery pack, which is also from another Makita cell. It has only 1 completely dead cell and another one that's reading lower voltage. The rest were around 2, 2.421. So these cells are pretty low, but I'm pretty sure I could charge them back up. So I'm actually going to yank 2 of these cells out of here. Now you might be asking, why are these ones silver and these ones are green? Now that's simple because Makita on this model had glued in the rubber foot in the bottom, and when I pulled it off, it tore the covers off with them. I don't need the cover. I can easily wrap these with something. I have some heat shrink I can use, larger diameter stuff. You can see here that this cell actually has some kind of physical heat damage on it, indicating that maybe the cell has partially started to leak. Maybe it got hot and was trying to swell, but because it's a metal cylinder, it swelled and it just oozed out the end. This is the positive side of the battery. But anyway, so we're going to first charge 2 of these cells up, see if we can't get them up to over 4 volts, which I don't think would be too much of an issue. This one here has some other corrosion on it, which indicate this pack got wet at some point, but the cell still measured 2.2 volts. So let's go and get that started. Let me set up a charger and I'll be right back. All right, gentlemen, here we go. So I got my alligator clips. These run off to banana clips on my Onyx 235 charger. I'm still not sure how I feel about this charger. I've seen some other ones out there that seem to work pretty well that guys like, that'll do more cells. This only does a max of 4 cells. I've only got a 5-pin balance plug on the side of it. Anyway, I'm still using my field pack from the last video, still with the same charge from before. I'm not sure what the battery's sitting at right now. Once I start the charge cycle, the charger will tell me. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and clip 2. I want to see what this 1.2 volt cell will do. So it's probably going to yell at me that the voltage is below, but we're going to try it anyway. Now I haven't measured, I've measured the cell some time back, in the order of a couple months ago. I had taken it apart and measured it. So we're going to see what it is currently right now. And right now it's actually sitting at a 0.5 volt, so it's dropped a bit more since then. How about this cell? Is it still at 2? No, this is 3.8. Let's update these numbers. All right, that's weird. 3.8 volts. How about this other cell here? That's in the millivolts. That's dead. All right, one's gonna be funky. Let's get it more secure. Okay, 3.9 and 4. Okay, I remember I had charged these packs up, but this one here, I see now it's reading 1.5 volts. So I must have had a bad connection that first time. So this is the one I'm going to go after first, just to try. So hook up my positive lead. All right, my negative lead is connected. I'm going to go ahead and show you the settings on the charger. 13 milliamps, amp and a half charge rate, 120 minutes. Lithium ion, because these are lithium ion cells. So we're going to go ahead and start this. See what the charge current is, see what it does. So the battery's still got 11.8 volts in it. Okay. All right, we're going to let this charge up and we'll come back when it's done. All right, and we're back. We got this battery charged. It took 1,329 milliamps to charge it. Battery voltage holding at 1.08, 1.09, kind of fluctuating a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that battery from the pack. But I think first we'll do a little destruction here. We're gonna get these two out of the middle here. Now it's gonna be a bit destructive to do that. And the easiest way I found is to literally peel these back. Now on this particular pack, they have paper protecting it, which I can come up with something after the fact. But we just have these two cells tied together on this side, these two here, and then we have this single here. But fortunately, there aren't any balance wires kind of coming off of these that I'm aware of. We just have this one wire here. So I should be able to just yank these two, pull these two out, and then maybe if I get a little creative, I can yank two out of this pack and only have to undo two of these to solder them back in. So let's get started. So I'm going to peel these back. I'm going to take a pair of pliers here, and I'm just going to gently curl this back. And what that's going to do is tear the metal right where it was broken. So now that cell is more or less free. It's attached, I think, underneath, but it's all right. We can get that off. I'm going to tear this one back as well. And I'm just rolling it, and what it's doing is actually ripping the base metal, which is actually good for us because we need the holes in order for solder to stick to it. So oops, see a little spark there? Don't want to do that. Don't want to touch the negative to the positive, or whatever it is I did there. A little momentary spark is not the end of the world. These packs, actually these cells are relatively fully charged. 3.19 was the last time I measured them. But I'll try to get up underneath there and just tear that. The other one tear a little bit easier. Just bend this a lot better way and get up underneath here. And basically all I'm doing is just ripping this little thin metal. There we go. Now we're separated. Of course, this single cell here is loose because it's only attached by this piece back here. But these two, this one, and this one, oops. I guess we have some, there we go. Ah, the little sneaky boogers, put a little spot of goo in there. Okay, so these are the two dead cells. Alright. And if I grab my meter just to double check that, now that I tore them out, watch one of them be good now. Yeah, they're still dead. 0.1 millivolts, next to nothing. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of these. Actually, we're gonna use these in comparison, because what I need to do is I need to get two cells that are still good. Now, it'd be nice if I can find the exact orientation, but I don't think it's going to happen because it'll be these two here. Actually, these two might work. I'll just have to cut this extra. It's alright. I'm out of shot there. So these two upper cells here are good. They just have an extra tab on them going off to the balance circuit or the monitoring circuit or whatever that is. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. So what I'm doing is pinching and I'm rolling, and it's just ripping it right off. Now that's what happens when it comes off nice and easy. Do the same thing here for these two. Well, for this one, I don't need to pull the other one off. Now there's a little corrosion in there, but the cell, I think it's just got a little water. So now that's loose. Grab a pair of wire snips. And with a little luck, rip the tape. There we go, and now we have two cells out. So we need this tab bent down, so we're going to bend that back in place. And for this particular pack, I don't need this tab, so I'm going to cut this off the best I can with these not so sharp snips. For the astute among you, you'll notice that these are Pittsburgh, which is from the wonderful, horrible freight. However, this cheap little set is actually, for the most part, worked out pretty well for what I bought it for. I've had it for a number of years now. Anyway, so now that tab is now cleanly removed. And I'll be able to set this back in here. Yep. Got a little something sticking up there. Oh, there it goes. So these are back on. Fold this back over. What I'll do is I'll get a little solder on there. I'll fold this one back over. I got a couple holes in there. I might have to cut a bigger hole in there. But there we go. So this will allow me to do as little work as possible. Alright, now let's get this iron warmed up. Now I do have a regular pencil iron. However, that's just not quite hot enough to solder against these larger cells, but I do have this nice heavy duty soldering gun that I bought from the Radio Shack many moons ago. It's 250 watt. Works pretty well. However, it doesn't like to be used for very, very long. Otherwise, it gets kind of on the hot side and gets a little grumpy. Let's take this out here. Let's see if I can't flatten this metal out a bit. And what I'm going to do is take a pair of pliers and just kind of work it flat best I can. Where I rolled it initially. Now, the step I forgot was to throw this on my charger and witness it catch that the charging error. Just because I was excited to get this started, so that was just an oversight on my part here. But I'm hoping that once I get this done and I charge each of these cells up individually, I will be able to show you, hopefully have this cell recover at least on one charger. I wouldn't be able to use it on my work charger, but I might be able to use it on my home charger here. Alright, so that's about as flat as I'm going to get them. So let's go ahead and get these set up in here. So you just want to make sure you have your positive negative orientation right. Like I said, the ribs here are your positives and the flats are your negatives. Now I've already marked these as you saw in the last video. The same holds true for here. Now you notice that these are the same covering. Just half they got torn off when I removed the rubber boot. But in between the cells here, the covering's still intact. So go ahead and set that back in there. I got to make sure we got it underneath this clip here, which kind of holds it in place. All right. And then I'll be able to get a glob of solder there, and I'll get some solder through that onto the terminal below. So let me go ahead and get my iron plugged in. Okay, here's my soldering iron. The solder that I'm using is just a 6040 rosin core from the Shack. It's a half-pound roll. What is this? This is 032 wire. I could use a thicker wire for this, but this is what I had laying around, so we'll use this. So, let's see here. We'll warm this puppy up. Now, I have to look around the camera when I'm doing this, otherwise I'll screw something up. But it looks like I got a relatively decent shot there. So, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to heat the bottom of the cell up so that the solder starts to spread. And sometimes it takes a few seconds just because it's thicker metal. Now, of course, the part you want to be cautious about is that you don't get everything too hot where you start cooking the chemicals in the cell. And it's a very tricky balance. You see I'm using a screwdriver here to help hold that down. And I'm waiting for that solder glob to go dull, which it just did. And I'm going to check this, make sure I got a good adhesion. What I'm looking for is that doesn't lift off, and it seems that we have pretty decent adhesion there. Now this one here is going to be a little trickier since I only have that small hole. I really don't have anything handy I can just cut that open a little further with, so we're going to try that. That may work, it may not. I think what I might try to do is flip this up, which is sort of counterintuitive, but what I can do is put a little glob of solder here on the positive post. And yes, I'm holding the iron upside down because it's easier to hold this way when I'm doing this vertical work. So now you see I'm spreading that out, and that heat spreads on that tab pretty quickly. And right there, it's solidified again. So you look for when it sort of like goes from shiny to dull. Like right there, it's like super dull now. So now what I can do is I can bend this back down. Grab the pliers. Again, being careful not to touch anything. Okay, so now what I can do, I have my little pressing screwdriver handy. Get my iron. Heat it up a little bit, get a little glob of solder on there, and what that helps is spread the heat out. And then I set that on there, and you'll be able to feel when it gets soft and melts right into it, which it just did. So now I wait, and you notice it goes dull, right about there, and that looks good. So now we have, hopefully, a repaired pack. But let's go ahead and check the pack voltage now, see if we actually completed our repair. Now remember, not all these cells were fully charged. So let's get this in a shot. So 1 and 2. So there's 17.56 volts. The pack nominal voltage would be at full charge over 20 volts. At full discharge would be 15 volts. So we're not quite at full discharge. We're not quite at full charge. Now how did I come up with those numbers? Well, I said the other day in a video that the nominal voltage is 4.2, which is absolutely true. Some of the older lithium polymer cells go up to 4.7 volts, but the lithium ion cells are generally 4.2 full charge. And full discharge, safe discharge, would be 3.0 volts. So some of these cells are above that, some of these cells are below that. Let's just quick run down each of these and see what each of them are. So this is 3.17. That's still considered in good charge. This here's 3.18. That one's 4 volts. That one's almost 4 volts. And that one's 3.18. So if I was going to be really smart about this, I should charge each of these up. At least the 3 that are under 4 volts, charge them up to 4 volts each. But I think for the sake of entertainment value, I'm going to grab my Makita charger and throw this on there and see what happens. So hold that thought and bring it back. All right, here we go. So some of you guys might be familiar with this charger. Let's just zoom back. This is your Makita 18RL DC charger. This is good for both lithium ion and nickel metal hydride. I only have the lithium ion packs. Now you can fit this on here without the casing. I've done it before for testing. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot. So let me first plug the charger in. All right, so we see that this is lit up. And we're gonna go ahead and very carefully finagle this puppy on here. All right, let's try this here. This is the tricky part, lining up just right so it hits all those pins. All right, let me actually look down where I can see what I'm doing. Now, gotta turn around the right way. Oh man. So that's saying no. That's frustrating because it's registering 18 volts on the charger. Now, my question is, have I used this one at work? I don't think I have. But that's alright. So let's yank this thing off. Alright, so let us take my standalone charger and charge each one of these cells up to full voltage and see if that doesn't change anything. And I'll be back. Okay, folks, and we're back. So it's been actually a couple of days since I started this. Work got in the way, and life and sleep and everything else. But now all these cells should be fully charged, and we're going to see where everything is sitting. So total pack voltage showing up at 20.2 volts, which is pretty damn good for what this is. Each cell, let's get on the cell. 4 volts, 3.98. Oops, we're sparking. We don't want to do that. 4.98. 4.06, and 4.05. That was 3.98, not 4.98. Anyway, so I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope that this charger will accept this battery. It didn't the first time, and the cells weren't all that imbalanced. But we're going to give it another shot, just to kind of prove my theory that this is Makita's biggest flaw in their packs. So here we go. Let's fire up the charger. Plug this puppy in. All right. So now we're going to slide this thing in. And just as I thought. So that sucks. So this is a big fail. Well, it's a fail in the respect that this charger does not like this battery pack, or this battery pack just doesn't like life, for whatever the case might be. However, interesting side note, now that this pack is fully charged, we should be able to put this pack back together and put it back in Israel or whatever, and it would work. Of course, I currently don't have any of my Makita tools with me. They're all in my work van, which is, you guessed it, at work. So that's going to conclude this video, guys. Unfortunately, these Makita battery packs don't like being repaired. Not without replacing this board here, which I don't know if it's available or not. I did a quick search and didn't come up with anything. It doesn't mean I couldn't possibly get them from Makita, but I doubt that they would sell them individually to average Joe Blow homeowner. However, one solution to this problem would be to rip this out altogether and come up with your own battery management system. Put your own balancing leads on here at your own plug and run it out through the case and charge it up separately. That's a lot of work for a relatively inexpensive battery. And frankly, in my home game, I've upgraded from Makita to Rigid, which those packs are completely repairable. And I've repaired 2 of my packs already by simply changing out the defective cells. They were the original, or one of the original 18 volt lithium-ion Rigid packs. Came with, I got it here. Came with this charger here, or a charger like this. And both of those packs are still functioning to this day. Now, the repair is only a few weeks ago, months ago now, but they're working. So sadly, this is a dead pack. But on the bright side, I do have 5 cells that I can use for other things. If I can get up a few more, maybe I can add to my field pack and increase its capacity even further. If I can get 9 more, then I can do double the current capacity, which for this one here is about 7,600 milliamp hours. So, all right, guys, that's it for this video. Stay tuned next time for the next project, whatever that might be. Thank you. And yes, there are Legos on my table, because why not? Lego.